Hello and welcome to another episode of Hoods, the show where we highlight the diverse cultures of Chicago's finest neighborhoods. I'm your host, Trinity Brown. Old Town, the affluent historical neighborhood located right next to Lincoln Park, is known for its community feel and vibrant history. Through our three-part series, we will explore the history, shopping, and entertainment of the area. Here we have a writer, Latino and Latin American minor, and blogger, Raven Rosado. She's here to discuss with us the large migration of Puerto Ricans and Mexicans who came to the Old Town area in the 1950s through the 70s during the White Flight. Hello, Raven. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Great. So tell me a little bit about what exactly the White Flight is and how it affected Old Town.
Okay, well, the White Flight happened roughly around 1950s and 1960s, and what it was, white city dwellers moved to the suburbs to avoid the influx of minorities moving into the city.
Wow. So what attracted Puerto Ricans to Chicago?
Well, it was a big need for work, and Chicago had big steel mills. So what was happening was a lot of people, especially Puerto Ricans from New York, came to Chicago to work in the steel mills. And due to the White Flight, the cost of living in Old Town in Lincoln Park area became really cheap. So it was a perfect hot spot. It was affordable, and there was work here.
What impact did the migration have on the neighborhood and the city?
Well, it was a lot of racial tension. Even though a lot of white city dwellers moved to the suburbs, there were people who still owned buildings. And what happened was a lot of Puerto Ricans are dark, like most people from the Caribbean, because it's a tri-ancestry. They're part of three different cultures.
Gotcha.
There's Spanish, Taino, and African roots. So they thought they were black, and they didn't want to rent out their buildings to blacks. So it was hard for a lot of them to find some place to live, even if they could afford it.
Right. So what other racial issues arose during that time?
Well, I know there's a church named St. Michael's where Puerto Rican Catholics went to go worship, and the white priest was like, we don't want you here because we're afraid that you'll scare away our fellow churchgoers. And there was a lot of pressure because they were like, we're a loving religion. How can you tell people we can't worship here? So they compromised and had them worship in the basement, but they were not allowed on the first floor. And another huge thing, June of 1966, there were riots because a man named Araceli Cruz, he was shot and killed by a white police officer, and he was unarmed. And the racial tension was already big, and they were just tired of it, so they rioted all on the north side, Old Town, Lincoln Park, Humboldt Park. It was big.
Wow. Is there a lot of Puerto Ricans today who still live in Old Town?
I wouldn't say there's a lot. What happened was gentrification, and Old Town is a hot spot. It's right by the lake, and people who are in real estate, they saw the gold in the Old Town. So what happened was they started to up the value, and a lot of Puerto Ricans were forced to move out of their homes. So some went to Logan Square and Humboldt Park. But which is odd that it's starting to happen in those neighborhoods too, and they're starting to move towards the suburbs.
Wow. Did they leave an impact during that whole time?
An impact, not a big one, but they did leave one. The biggest group here is the Mexicans, and it's about 65% of the city is Mexican. But you can find a Puerto Rican restaurant around here, and reggaeton is starting to become really big here, which is the Caribbean hip hop that's also really big in Puerto Rico. And you can also see plena and bomba dancers in Old Town as well.
Wow. For anyone who wants to know more information about this, where can they get it?
Well, there's a really good documentary that was on PBS. It's called Chicago's Puerto Rican History. Okay. And we have a faculty member, his name is Wilfredo Cruz. He was a part of that, and it's a really good documentary. It touches on things that you wouldn't quite find online. It really gets into details, and it also gets on the details of the riots that happened in June of 1966, which is very huge.
Where can we find the DVD at?
You can find it, Columbia has it in their library.
Oh, wow, okay.
You can find it online. You can find it pretty much any cultural research place or in the Harold Washington Library as well. They should definitely have it.
That's nice. Alrighty, thank you so much, Raven.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Wow, that was extremely interesting. Who would have known Old Town had such vivid history? I know you all are dying, just like me, to see more. Well, you're just in luck. Here next is a mini episode of more cool history of Old Town. We're going to explore counterculture, hippies and yippies, so do not move that mouse.
Old Town is an affluent neighborhood in Chicago located right next to Lincoln Park. It is a beautiful historical neighborhood with great boutiques, restaurants, and amazing people. This is an ideal neighborhood to raise a family. However, this neighborhood was also a huge home for counterculture, Nuyorican, and the gay community. This all began in the 1960s due to the White Flight. The White Flight was the U.S. move of white city dwellers to the suburbs to escape the influx of minorities, which resulted in many hippies, yippies, activists, and college students moving into the neighborhood, which also came to no surprise at all. The Old Town had a part in the 1968 Democratic Convention riots. All hell broke loose.
It was held in Chicago, 1968, of course, and it was the Democratic National Convention, so it was to nominate whoever would be running for president. Everyone had assumed it might be Robert Kennedy, but he had been assassinated shortly before the nominating convention, so it came down to mostly candidates that pretty much no one was thrilled with in any stretch of the imagination, largely because of the issue of the Vietnam War. And so younger people in particular who were draft age were heavily invested in whether a pro-war candidate would be nominated or an anti-war candidate. So there was a rather ugly set of riots that actually happened in Old Town before the convention footage that we're all used to seeing. Seeing police beat college-age students in the street made the American people feel distrustful of the police, and that extended to a general distrust then of authority and government that was pretty well in place already by that point in time with all the assassinations that had happened, with Robert F. Kennedy's, with Martin Luther King, with Malcolm X. People were already upset with the status quo, but seeing that live on TV in such kind of graphic brutality really made most of the world kind of stop and ask, what are we doing? Why are we so invested in Vietnam to the point where people are fighting each other in the streets?
Oh gosh, that was interesting. Fortunately, we have more coming your way to lift your spirits and pique your interest. And it may make you a little bit hungry. We will learn about a few Puerto Rican dishes and their history, which came to Old Town along with Puerto Ricans, right after this break.
Did you buy the flashlight and the batteries?
Yes.
Did you make sure we're not missing anything in the first aid kit?
Yup.
Did you go through the plan with the kids again?
Yes.
The more you prepare today, the more you'll be able to reduce the devastating effects of a tornado, an earthquake, a power outage, or any other disaster. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed. Visit ready.gov.
What if a disaster strikes without warning? What if life as you know it has completely turned on its head? What if everything familiar becomes anything but? Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed today.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. It's time to learn about some great food and even taste a little. Here we have Vegeta and Hilda, Puerto Rican restaurant owners, who will share a few dishes with us along with their history. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about you all's restaurant.
Well, it's actually an upcoming restaurant. We'll be opening in spring 2015 in Blue Island, which actually the Puerto Rican people from the Humboldt Park area or surrounding areas are moving to Blue Island, and which is 46% Hispanic now. now. So we're expanding, and we're going to be the first Puerto Rican restaurant in that area.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me what you all have today.
Well, we specialize in rice, and
Okay.
I mean we do it a variety of ways. But today I brought you some rice with corn,
Okay.
and we brought you some empanadas, which are turnovers in English.
Yes.
And it's a little token to you, just so you could pass the word for us.
Thank you.
And this is what you have.
Oh, wow, that looks great.
Okay.
So do you guys deliver also?
Yes, we will be delivering to
Nice.
businesses in the Blue Island, downtown Blue Island area.
Okay, nice.
Yes.
Well, let's taste it.
And we specialize
Thank you.
with pork
Uh-huh.
and for the holidays and pasteles. Those are Puerto Rican tamales. Okay.
Ooh.
And they're really famous.
This is really good.
Yes. Yes.
This is really good.
You really
Yes.
should try that empanada.
The empanada?
Yes. Don't
And
Okay.
the empanada, because we're trying to be more health conscious, we're utilizing ground turkey instead of the
Nice.
ground beef.
Now, question for you. Is this a family-owned restaurant?
Yes, it is.
Nice.
Noble family.
Nice.
And just for you, I brought you our new cards
Thank
with two
you.
Latinas with soul.
Yes.
Oh, I love the name.
Yes.
That's a great name.
Yes.
Now, is this your mother?
Yes. My favorite only mother.
Aw. These are really good. Really good.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alrighty. So we can find you guys at Western Avenue, Blue Island.
Yes.
Okay.
13012 Southwestern Avenue.
So when exactly will you guys be opening?
We guesstimate in the spring, maybe of April 2015. Definitely.
Nice. I'm so excited. Alrighty. So, two Latinos or so. Tell me a little bit about what made you guys start the restaurant.
Well, what made us start? Well, it started a long time ago as a little girl. She made sure I stayed in that kitchen with her. And we worked so well together, and we started catering family events, friends events, from retiring parties on down to my father's recent 60th birthday party.
Wow.
We did all the cooking basically, and the skill has turned into an extreme talent, and it's time to capitalize on our talent.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Most definitely.
Definitely.
And we've been getting a lot of feedback that people want a Puerto Rican restaurant out south, which, you know, you have to go all the way up to Humble Park, which
Right.
I don't have a problem, but it simplifies for the life of people that are in that area. There's
Yeah.
more and more Puerto Ricans moving in that area. So we feel this is a great opportunity for us, and we're ready to tackle it on.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Question for you. Now, you said you all will be the only Puerto Rican restaurant in Blue Island.
Yes.
The
what-
first.
the
The
first.
first.
That's history.
Yes.
So, what other things are makes you all different from other Puerto Rican restaurants other than the location?
Well, I would have to say that, again, it's predominantly a Mexican area as far as the Blue Island area. We will be the first Puerto Rican restaurant, and I've noticed a lot of Puerto Rican flags surfacing in that area, so it's a great thing. So there's a lot of people who are anticipating and waiting for this.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Can we find you guys on Facebook? Or?
We're actually in the process of creating it. So we're targeting social
Perfect.
media very aggressively.
Good. Well, we cannot wait for the restaurant to come out. Thank you guys so much for
Thanks
coming.
for having
Thank
us.
you so much.
No problem. I wish you guys the best.
Thank
you.
you.
No problem.
And just remember, two Latinas with soul.
Two
That
Latinas
is our
with Soul.
card.
13012 Western Avenue, Blue
Yes.
Island, Illinois.
Yes.
Yes.
Don't forget it.
Yes.
Alrighty. Wow. All of those dishes taste amazing. I'm going to have to come visit the restaurant very soon.
Definitely.
Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for today. We've learned about Old Town's vivid, diverse history and tasted some amazing food that graced the city. Thank you for watching, and tune in to part 2. Alrighty.
Day by day, people getting ready for news.
Did you like
Some are happy, some are sad. Oh, I'm gonna let the music play. What the people need is a way to make them smile. It ain't so hard to do if you know how. Gotta get a message, get on through.